This is 3 Seconds Ahead. Thanks for joining me. If you like what you hear, please hit the thumbs up button and share it with your friends. Natalie, it's great to see you. And first of all, thanks so much for joining me today on the first podcast for 3 Seconds Ahead. And we've known each other for a long time. First of all, as you were my chiropractor, and then you became my friend. I know you as a philanthropist, and now you're a mother and a wife. So we've traveled a long path together, and I'm really grateful that you've given me the opportunity to chat with you today. And
thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, and really this is about getting to understand this new world that we're going into, because we all need to understand and accept the fact that we are all beginning again. And for many people, beginning means beginning in their 30s, 40s with families, etc. And that can be quite daunting, but it doesn't have to be. And it doesn't have to be if we remind ourselves of what the basics are in the various aspects of our life, and we focus on those and we practice them, and slowly we recreate a new wonderful future for ourselves. So I'm very excited to pick your brain and get your perspective from a chiropractic perspective, but we can adventure into other areas if you like. And I mean, I think we could start off with this sort of, where does your story begin for those people that don't know you? Where does your story begin, and how did you end up where you are now?
Okay, so my story of, I suppose it's a bit of a lifelong passion in many ways. And I was a little girl who always loved to heal, who loved to touch, who loved to put her hands on people. And I was very blessed that I stumbled across chiropractic, and it was pure chance that I became a chiropractor. Mm-hmm. I found a thing on Bits Tech at the time that said, you need to be this type of person. I wish I still had that little flyer to see if I still think of myself as that. And my journey through being a chiropractor, in many ways, I make the jokes of saying I'm 90% shrink and 10% chiropractor. And through the 20 years of me practicing, the way that I've come from being a very physical, purely hands-on, scientific chiropractor, I've come to deal very much using all that science and integrating it in with the emotions of people, and realizing of how intertwined your physical and your emotional beings are. And I land up in many ways almost coaching. And when you and I had our first coaching session, you made a comment and you said to me, it's quite a thing coaching, there's big responsibility on it. And in many ways, I have a wonderful situation where people aren't coming to me for coaching, but they land up getting it without the responsibility. They're able to have that choice whether they want to take my advice or not. Yeah. But I'm very often a sounding board, and because they're not forced into it, they often land up taking what I'm saying home and giving them something to think about. And I find that when you're doing that and you're integrating it with the physical treatment, you integrate the physical and the emotional together, and you get a beautiful response.
Well, so what you're telling me is that really from when you were a young girl, you had this unexplained desire to be able to heal, and you by chance came across the opportunity, and you ended up being a chiropractor, and that's evolved in many ways, where you not only dealing with the client's physical ailments, but their emotional and mental state of mind as well, which I'm sure you've recognized the mental state of mind has a direct impact on the physical well-being. But I'm just a little bit curious, in terms of your beginning as a little girl, the environment you grew up in, your family when you were growing up, what was that like?
So I had a beautiful home life. My very loving parents, very stable, very white picket fence-ish. I didn't have an easy time at school as a little girl. I lacked a little bit of confidence. Interestingly enough, I see it a lot in my daughter now, where they say she has low arousal. And I often think that was probably me, and they didn't have all the OT and things in the day, that it took me a little bit of a while to get going. But I was able to sort of hide in my sister's shadow at the time. And then with time of her moving on, with me moving on, I grew out of that and very much was able to then stand on my own 2 feet and become a leader. And I was all through school and university very much one of the leaders, the proactive people, the head of this, the head of that.
So from being a young girl and almost teenager of low confidence, you turned into a powerful, independent woman with confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure our listeners would be curious as to if you could just touch on how you did that, what the process was, if you can remember anything. I mean, it was a while ago, but these are the basics that we can all tap into in the beginning again that we're talking about, because those are the hard times that we tend to forget. So is there anything that stands out for you in that process?
You know, I think I was also very lucky in that I found my confidence before I hit the difficult teenage years. So when I look back at my teenage years, I don't think of them being difficult. I was never moody. I was never having that sort of torment. It was almost younger. And one of the big things that was such a massive help for me at the time was I was a good tennis player.
Oh, okay.
My mother never learned to play sport when she was young. So she was very determined her children would get what she didn't. And she was very focused on us being good tennis players. And it gave me almost like a little bit of power of the girl who bullied me, who was a dreadful bully to me. But when I got to play against her in Standard 5 in the tennis finals against everybody in front of the whole school, I could beat her 6-love. And it gave me, by developing my own abilities on the sports field, things like that, and even that built up my confidence a lot. And then even when I went to high school, I got involved with Interact, which was Rotary, and it was helping other people.
Yes.
And you know, when you want to feel better about yourself, you do something nice for someone else. That is the best thing you can ever do, is show empathy and show kindness. And I guess if I look back, I learned that at a very young age. And when in life you are in the sort of helpless, hopeless, fearful stage of your life, or you're going through those emotions, the quickest and the best way to get out of it is to show empathy for others, to do something nice for someone else.
Wow.
And those changes actually change your neuroanatomy, which is really interesting.
So explain that, what you're talking about. You and I have an idea of that, but there may be people out there that don't understand. So just give the layman's understanding of what you mean about neuroanatomy.
Okay, so when you're having depression, anxiety, helpless, hopeless, fearfulness, those emotions change the serotonin and dopamine levels in your brain. So those are the hormones that control your moods, that control the way you sleep. And that very much has an effect on the way your cellular structure in your brain is. It's also, so from that, when you have a thought will cause a neurological process. It is not a neurological process that causes a thought. So when you have positive thinking all the time, because of that neurological process that goes back to your brain continuously, it changes your neuroanatomy. So if you're a negative person and you get into the habit of thinking positively, acting positively, doing nice things, it actually changes the anatomy of your brain, the cellular structure. And with that, you're able to change your baseline. So your baseline is, say, you're a miserable, sad, horrible person and you win the lottery. So you're excited, you're elated for a certain amount of time, but then you go back to being that same miserable person. Or if you're a very happy person and something traumatic happens, you'll be depressed and upset for an appropriate amount of time, but fundamentally you'll go back to being that happy person.
Yeah.
So you have those baselines. But with your own thinking, the way that you think, that can change that anatomy. And that's where you tie it into doing nice things, because what is better, to give or to receive? What makes you feel better, when you get given a gift or when you give a gift?
Yeah.
It's a much nicer feeling giving a gift. So when you are kind to someone, you say, wow, you look great today. And you pay them some attention, you boost them, you say, that picture you did is beautiful. You make them feel good. And you see that result, it makes you feel even better than what you've done for them. And so because of that, that then changes that positivity in your brain. So then you also get that positive reinforcement. So the next time you see someone again, you go, oh, that made me feel really good. I want to do it again. And practice makes perfect, and you start getting better and better at it. And with that, you start to change your baseline.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is, I mean, first of all, physical activity, sport in particular, tennis in particular, had a massive impact on your ability to gain confidence with yourself, within yourself. The girl that preyed on you, she couldn't do that on the court, and you thought, well, if I can dominate here or be myself here, and myself is a winner here, well, then why can't I do it off the court? So that physical activity, getting in touch with your body, that embodiment of yourself, and understanding that you're more than your thoughts of yourself, helped you build your confidence, which then you said we went into the details of the how your neural network basically adopts the way that you think over a period of time. And you mentioned the baseline, and what I heard you say is that baseline can also be replaced with it's habitual. It's your habit. So your habitual way of being is negative or lacks optimism, is because you've learned how to be that. You've over time have created that habit. But the one can undo that by starting a new habit and redesigning your baseline again. And that's about, and one of the basics or the fundamentals that you've mentioned is, I realized that by being kind to other people, when I was down and I could see the joy that I've brought into their life, that it was uplifting for me. I felt better by helping other people, by being of service to others. And in this new place that we are all moving towards, because this is the beginning of the beginning, it sounds to me that one of the things that you would take with you when you start again is, don't forget to be of service to other people. Don't forget to be kind to other people. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Very much so. And I do think that with this whole thing and the lockdown, that we're seeing more and more of that. And I mean, from a personal perspective, I have a neighbor who lives on her own, and she doesn't ever see anyone. She's trying to cook for herself, and regularly I send her a meal. And she is so grateful. And I said to her, I'm so happy, so grateful, but I promise you it makes me feel even better than it does you receiving this meal. And and I think that a lot of what's happening in our lives is making us come back down, as you say, to basics and giving us a reset.
Yeah. And I mean, carry on.
One of the things of just you saying going back to basics, I remember going to a chiropractic congress.
Yeah.
And the whole conference was called Back to Basics. And whenever you don't know what to do, and you're having a bad day and you've got a patient, you have no idea how I'm going to do an adjustment, how I'm going to do anything. The whole premise is go back to your basics. Do you know what I mean? The start line. Take a deep breath, start fresh, and trust yourself and trust your knowledge and apply it. And go back to those basics, and you get to where you need to go.
See, what's interesting to me, because I mean, what you've just described is exactly the reason why I'm doing this, is because the basics, I mean, it's a cliche, go back to basics. But we live in a world where we actually celebrate the complex. The basics is the simple, is the simplicity. So we celebrate the complex stuff in life. And what's interesting to me is that the chiropractic fraternity had to have a conference to remind everybody what the basics are. And that for me is really powerful, because it sends the message of we can get so sucked into our lives, or the reality that we've created for ourselves. And we're so far away from where we began that we actually find it very difficult to remember what the basics are, what the fundamentals are. And that inability to remember. And the interesting thing is we've been there before. We actually know, we have the knowledge within us, but we struggle to access it. So the purpose of this whole exercise, and what I'm loving about our conversation, is how you've latched onto the kindness and the giving. The kindness and the giving. Start there. Just start with that. And I would imagine as a chiropractor, if you're feeling like you're under pressure, if you step back and say, just be kind to your patient and start there, and then everything else will flow. Because the moment that you're kind, you calm down, you relax, your heartbeat drops, you get heart-brain coherence, everything starts working nicely, and boom, your subconscious mind, which knows everything, which has all the knowledge, produces the answer. So the challenge that we faced with is creating an environment within ourselves that is at peace while the outside is in chaos, because that's really, and chaos, another word for chaos is the unknown. And we really are venturing forth. We're at the beginning of the unknown. And for many people, that's a really, really frightening place because it's forcing you to go inwards. And not many people like that. And people haven't practiced that for a long time. They've been so obsessed with what's outside them, and that's what brings them their so-called happiness. So it's really nice to hear you talking about that, the conference. But what's quite interesting for me is, I mean, what are the basics of chiropractic? What can you remember from that conference?
Well, I mean, a lot of what they were going on to is, sort of more of adjusting techniques and that sort of thing, which is too sort of industry specific to really interested anyone. But so much of the basics of things that pertain to here is, it's about, say, be present.
Yes.
So I know from my sort of personal things is that if I'm having a really tough time and I'm battling and I'm emotionally all over the place, the best thing I can do is come to work. Mm-hmm. Because I can't be all my own turmoil. It's about the patient. Mm-hmm. And I have to take a deep breath, be present, concentrate what I'm doing, hear what they're saying, and it totally centers and calms me.
Yes.
I end up being busy, and suddenly all the answers that I'm struggling with are there, or I'm in a calm enough state and my whole central nervous system is calmed down that I can deal with whatever I need to deal with. And a lot of, I can think of doing my massage course when I was 18 and her talking about the energies, and I was like, what rubbish. And the craniosacral therapist and all these things, is that the first thing that you do, you start off and you put your hands on someone.
Yeah.
You touch them, you feel them, you connect with them, and then from there you can start doing a whole evaluation and assessment and bring all your science into it as well. But there is so much about just to calmly touch someone, put your hands in them, let your energy feel their energy, be present, and that you're giving to them. Yeah. And again, going back to that thing is that at the end of a 20-minute session with me, not only does my patient feel better, I feel better.
Yes.
My patients who don't like me and I don't like them, they don't get better.
Yeah.
Usually they're the patients who don't want to get better.
Yes. Yeah.
They're jumping from practitioner to practitioner to, trying to seek that attention, but it's got a very negative effect with it. Yeah.
So, I mean, when you spoke about, the first thing you do is you touch somebody. It was, for me, I actually felt something inside me move, because the message that you sent was, when you start working with another human being, just acknowledge them. Acknowledge they're there. I touch you. I feel you. I see that you are here. You are in my presence. And that, just in that moment, there's a transfer of energy and knowledge and connection. Again,
if I treat a newborn baby, I pick them up, I put them on my shoulder, and I ask them permission.
Yeah.
Because they're a human being. So you can speak subconscious to subconscious. You say, I'm here, may I, that you don't just bulldoze into something.
So you really are acknowledging the existence of this other beautiful human being in front of you, and that it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to heal them, and that you want to share that knowledge with them.
Yeah, and it's the same when you coach. You all the time say, "If I may, can I say?"
Yeah.
You know.
Yes. Yeah. Could I share with you?
You know, may I share with you? You know, that a person always feels that you not denying them of their power, that you are, that they are present, that they are valuable, that they're, what they have to say matters and counts.
Yes.
And it goes into a physical thing as well.
Yeah, that's I think they acknowledge that presence is really, really powerful. And it's, I mean, it's something that's been thrown around or in the ether for some time at the moment. But I don't think many people truly understand what it means. And it does require a deep recognition of others. And your that symbolic touching of somebody else really, for me, resonates in that moment, and holding the child and speaking to them with your thoughts, not just with your words. Anyway, that's great. So, I mean, that's, we have a limited amount of time. So I think just to end off, there's the game that I play with myself, and I think other people do, is that if I could go back to my 20s or my 30s, and start again, but I could take some knowledge with me, what knowledge would I take? I mean, I struggle with that. And that goes back to what we said in the beginning, which is, what are the basics, the things that I'd take with me and the things I'd leave behind, so that when I started again, it would be just that little bit easier. So that's my question. In this transition that we're in, what are you going to keep? It could be one thing, it could be two, it doesn't matter. What are you going to keep, and what are you going to leave behind, and why?
Oh, Andrew, I'm not sure I know how to answer that question.
Well, that's fine. It could be nothing. I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've often, and before this time, I've said, you know, if I could be 17 again, I would choose to be a chiropractor.
Yeah.
You know, and I look at my big things in my life that I've always really wanted to be. And, you know, so being a chiropractor, another one was being a wife and a mother. And so I often look and feel very grateful that I have these. And that's where, like, I don't have this desperate desire of running away to immigrate, to do this, to do that, because I love my presence and the life that in the moment. And I think as I've got older, I've learned to live in the moment and really enjoy where I am now. And I think that perhaps if I had to look back, I'd enjoy that a little bit more, of enjoying just the time of where I am right now in it. And I'd worry a lot less about what the other people around me thought.
Yeah.
Which came to me relatively young in my life in comparison to most people. And as I said, I had a very close family, and I went and lived in London for 4 years. And it did me wonders, because suddenly it wasn't what anybody else thought. And I said, and I came to the conclusion that everything's about the mirror phenomenon. Whatever you do, you need to wake up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with it.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, then whatever you've done is all right.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
You know, and that was a lesson that I learned, and that's definitely one that I would take along with me, that I feel is a very valuable one.
Okay, so that is what other people think of you, or at least what you think other people think of you, you wouldn't take so seriously as you did when you were younger. And being able to look at yourself in the mirror and being happy and joyful with what you see. Yeah. Excellent. I mean, any final thoughts? And then we need to just tell those people how they can find you on the interwebs and all that kind of stuff if they want to get hold of you. So any final thoughts, or can we just go to those details?
Yeah, I'm happy to go to those details. I've, as always, loved chatting to you.
So where can they find you on the web pages or?
Yeah, my practice is in Hyde Park Corner in the shopping centre. My website is hydeparkcairo.coza, at Hyde Park Cairo Twitter, or at Nat Arkin. And otherwise, just Google Hyde Park Chiropractic and you will find me.
Okay, excellent. And I'll also, in the notes that I post, I'll put all the details so people can find you
Lovely, thank you.
And I really thank you so much. It's been wonderful chatting with you. It always is. And yeah, have a lovely week. I'm sure we'll chat again in the future, when hopefully over a cup of coffee when we're allowed to.